So, Nintendo just revealed Super Mario Party Jamboree today on the Nintendo Direct with a 2-minute trailer jam-packed with lots of content. As a huge Mario Party fan, this is a very exciting time, and I want to take a detailed, in-depth look at this trailer to see what new changes this game is going to bring to the series this October. And where better to start than with the game's name, Super Mario Party Jamboree. Continuing with the Super moniker, this conveys that Super Mario Party was intended to be ND Cube's reboot of the classic formula with their unique lens. So, in the same vein as Super Mario Party, the board gameplay is meant to be the biggest mode in the game here, but modes like the rhythm mode, co-op mode, etc. are also treated as main modes rather than side content or side modes like in previous Mario Party games. This can be seen in the design of the island that has 5 docks stretching through various gates, very reminiscent of Super Mario Party's main menu. I'm very interested to see where ND Cube takes this Super Mario Party brand and tries to differentiate it from the Hudson Soft games while also feeling nostalgic and classic at the same time. So, changing gears to something that probably everybody is interested in, let's take a look at this game's confirmed roster. Most of the playable characters from Super Mario Party are returning, with a few omissions and a few additions. Returning from previous Mario Party games, we have Birdo, Spike, Toad, and Toadette. All great additions. However, for the first time in the Mario Party series, you are also able to play as Ninja, which is really cool. It's also possible that Boom Boom is an unlockable character because you can kind of see him on this main island here. In Super Mario Party, when you would fulfill a character's unlock criteria, you would then find them in the lobby. So this may point to Boom Boom being unlockable, but it may also point to him being a host of some kind or some other sort of NPC, because you can also see characters like Lakitu and Yellow Toad who are known to be NPCs. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Finally, as another unconfirmed character, in the Japanese trailer, Chargin' Chuck can be seen with a name over his head as if he's a player, so this might point to Chargin' Chuck being a playable character in this game. However, he does look significantly bigger than the other players, and the name tied to Chuck, Danny, has a daisy icon. So this may mean that Chuck is in the game, but just not done yet, and was accidentally included in this footage, or he's an enemy and the name is just an unlucky coincidence. You let me know what you think in the comments. Moving on to characters that unfortunately didn't seem like they made the cut are Pom Pom, Dry Bones, Diddy Kong, and Hammer Bro, which is really disappointing. Now, there's a good chance that these characters are unlockable because 3 out of 4 of them were unlockable in Super Mario Party, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But all in all, this roster looks really good. Next, let's talk about this game's UI. Yes, I'm talking about this game's UI. You saw the title of the video, you knew what you were getting into. This game's UI is very clean and unobtrusive, just like the previous 2 games, but the players are displayed in this line format like they were in Super Mario Party as opposed to the 4-quadrant style like most Hudson Soft games. Personally, I prefer the 4-quadrant style because it feels less in the way and more like you own that corner of the screen, but the line style is clean too. The icons in the bottom right are a really neat new addition, showing players easily forgettable mechanics like being in the home stretch with a few turns left, or the flash sale ending soon. These icons seem to appear in the turn order as they take effect, so this can hopefully be helpful to players to not miss when an event is occurring or when a minigame will be played. Speaking of the minigame icon, what does it mean? You presumably play a minigame after every turn, and there's no board footage without this icon on it. Maybe this icon will change if there's a double coin minigame approaching or something like that. Anyways, these icons are a really neat addition, and I'm excited to see how they're used in the full game. So, a little bit about this game's turns and economy. All board gameplay is shown with 10 turns, and by turn 5, players have an average of 35.75 coins in Rainbow Galleria and 22.25 coins in Roll'em Raceway. No players have gotten any stars until Ninja gets his in Rainbow Galleria. Please, ND Cube, stop balancing Mario Party around a 10-turn game standard. It results in excessively inflated economies and less room for balanced item introductions and usage. I really hope that this game is not nearly as inflated as Super Mario Party or Mario Party Superstars to a lesser extent. These averages have me hopeful. A little nervous, but hopeful. So, now let's take a look at the 7 boards that are playable in this game. Yes, 7, with 5 brand new ones and 2 returning from N64 Mario parties. We've got Rainbow Galleria, Roll'em Raceway, Goomba Lagoon, Mega Wiggler's Tree Party, King Bowser's Keep, and then Mario's Rainbow Castle from Mario Party 1 and Western Land from Mario Party 2. This board selection is really great, but honestly it would be so nice if there was just one more board, maybe from, say, Mario Party 3 3 to round this out to an even 8. Ah well, this selection is still really good, so let's take a deeper look at each of these boards. Well, actually, before we do that, let's take a look at the different spaces that are on these boards. So the spaces seem to use a similar set to Mario Party Superstars, with battle spaces, lucky spaces, chance time spaces, item spaces, and Bowser spaces all returning. However, the one omission there is bank spaces. Apparently those have been omitted, which is a real shame. Bank spaces are a great way to drain a lot of money out of the economy and then provide a huge bonus to somebody who's lucky enough to land on this space. Without bank spaces, I'm curious to see if the economy in Jamboree will feel overinflated, but only time will tell. There is also a new space, the unlucky space, which looks to be a counterpart to the lucky spaces. This one is particularly interesting to me because Bowser spaces are also in Jamboree, but in Mario Party Superstars, Bowser spaces essentially functioned as the offset for lucky spaces. The roulette that Bowser spins is essentially the same as the lucky space, just in reverse, so I wonder how this will make Bowser spaces function in Jamboree. Maybe the Bowser spaces will have more intense variants like the Bowser Revolution or even Bowser Minigames, harkening back to how they used to function in games like Mario Party 4, which is really cool stuff. Anyways, glad to see that they're not reinventing the wheel here. So let's start off with the first board that was revealed, Rainbow Galleria. This is a large sprawling map inside of a 3-floor mall, which is a super neat idea for a Mario Party board that presents tons of opportunities for potentially interesting happening spaces and board events. You'll travel up and down these different floors using the escalators, which totally makes sense but has the potential to railroad you into long sections with no decisions, but there seems to be a good amount of junctions and this elevator in the center might offset this as well. The flash sale mechanic seems pretty interesting, cutting the price of the star in half. It is reminiscent of boards like Fair Square and Toadette's Music Room that I really like, but my question is, when does this flash sale occur? No player is standing on this happening space when it's triggered, and the icon in the bottom right notes when it starts and when it ends, so my assumption is that this happens regularly every few turns, which would be great if true. It would cause this insane rush to the star every few turns when it's cheaper. I really hope that this is the case. Like I mentioned earlier, this board also has tons of happening spaces. This happening space in front of the Peepa might give you a free Boo Bell or might be the only place on the map to get one. Either this or maybe they steal for you. There are also these two happening spaces in front of this Sniffet shop with the name 4th over it. This shop will likely grant a bonus to 4th place or maybe take something from the player who lands here and give it to 4th place. There are also 4 stamp kiosks scattered around the map that are passable, similar to Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival of all games. The Koopa Concierge in the front may give you your empty stamp card and exchange a completed stamp card for a reward, possibly a star. This Toad with a box in the back of the second floor also has a couple of happening spaces, and thanks to the Japanese trailer, we can actually get a good look at what these are. This appears to be a lottery of sorts, similar to Mario Party 4, where depending on what color ball you draw, you can get a variety of different prizes, from different amounts of coins to even a golden pipe. There are a few happening spaces on the top floor too, 2 in front of this red shop run by a Shy Guy and 2 in front of this yellow shop with a sparkling sign. These will probably provide some kind of exclusive item or reward similar to the Peepa shop below. There's also a shop with a Boo neon sign with an arrow pointing downwards, but there doesn't appear to be any other area with the same signage. Will this possibly send you back to the start of the board? Is this maybe a hidden area with negative effects? Is this mall's equivalent of a Spencer's? I suppose we'll just have to wait. On this board, Ninja appears to be holding a custom dice block, and Toadette appears to be holding a warp box from Super Mario 3D Land and World. Is this item replacing the warp block from Mario Party Superstars? Does it replace the super warp block where you pick your opponent and that way this one is a bit more visually distinct? Does it send you to a random space? Or maybe does this item function like it does in the mainline games and send you to a specific place, maybe even one that you set yourself? That one might be a little bit too convoluted for Mario Party. The Peepa's shop also has Boo Bells on display. Are they possibly specific to this board? I really hope not. Overall, this board looks super cool and is so thematically unique. I'm really glad to see a somewhat unique mechanic on this board that plays into classic Mario Party star hunting, and I think that there's a lot to be excited about here. So next up we have Roll'em Raceway, a board that appears to be using similar mechanics to Rocket Road from Island Tour, which is gross. This board will be mostly linear and all about getting big rolls, although the rolling items like the new quadruple dice appear to still be purchasable instead of purely won in minigames like Rocket Road, which will probably be better. Differently from Rocket Road, you also appear to be racing towards the star, which likely has you completing laps rather than just racing to the end, which I think is better. I'm curious as to if the star space is static or if it changes. I'm personally assuming that it's static. In the pit area over here, there looks to be an item shop that likely sells movement items, along with a few happening spaces near this charging station that likely powers up your next roll or so. The sign at the beginning here actually shows us this board's layout. It's mostly a linear circle with two areas with branching paths that lead to the same area, so there's at least some decision making here. There's likely not a lot, these are pretty vapid junctions, but at least it's something. Happening spaces on these green launch pads probably send you forward even further, and it's probably safe to assume that there's a red version of this as well that sends you backwards, but we don't see it in these trailers. This board also seems to have unique items, which is likely the case for all of the boards, but these ones include the turbo or quadruple dice and an item that Waluigi's holding that kind of looks like it says plus 12, but the color scheme makes it look like it may be an offensive item intended to hurt another player. Overall, this is probably going to be the weakest board of the bunch, but it does look like it's improving on some of the mechanics that it's borrowing, so I'm very interested to see what it does with them. Next up, we've got Goomba Lagoon, and boy, does this one look good. It looks so pretty. We don't ever see any actual gameplay of this board, so I'm curious to see if there's a unique star chasing mechanic that wasn't shown here. That also means that we didn't get to see if there were any unique items on this board yet. However, we did get to see that this board has an interconnected island structure that is very neat and can be fantastic, harkening back to Bowser's Enchanted Inferno from Mario Party 7. However, a lot of this is hinged on the high tide mechanic, specifically how often does it occur. Ideally, it's every few turns or so it's predictable, but maybe could be initiated sooner by a happening space. Also, when the tide does rise, how long does that effect last? The tide rising mechanic has the potential to segment the board a little bit too much, so implementation and not making this too obstructive to progress is key. However, the most concerning thing is that when the high tides come, the Goombas are just all replaced with bloopers. It's cute and all, but did those Goombas just die? Is there some kind of cycle of volleyball, Goomba, and blooper death and rebirth on this board? Is this board purgatory? Please, ND Cube, we need more information before I have an existential crisis. Even with high tides, it looks like there are some happening spaces that you can take to zipline over to other islands so you aren't stranded. This may make custom dice blocks very useful and golden pipes a little too useful potentially. In regards to other happening spaces, there's this one near Cheep Cheep on the boardwalk on the second island, which looks like a potential chance to fish for coins. On the ship, there are two happening spaces near some treasure chests that's either pure luck or a shell game, or maybe a Mario 64 reference if we're lucky. There's also this happening space near this anchor in the sand, which looks like a potential chance to search for sunken treasure. There's also this little passable Boo flag on the ship, but Boo is actually playable, so this is a little bit perplexing. I wonder if there's maybe some kind of haunting mechanic, or if Red Boo stealing is back. Speaking of passable events, there's also this giant Goomba volcano that shoots golden Goombas in the trailer. Do the Goombas inhabit the island and affect certain mechanics like the cost of the zip lines? Does this affect maybe the costs of items in the shop? Is there another instance of this event where regular Goombas are shot out instead that can negatively affect the players? There's not much that we can definitively say about this event and what it does, but it's very intriguing. Overall, this board is overflowing with potential, and I really hope that they capitalize on it and don't squander it by making it difficult to traverse or by overvaluing the golden pipe. So for this next board, we don't have any footage of it, just this still image, but still, it's one of the most exciting to me. Mega Wiggler's Tree Party is likely our starter board, our no-frills, simple Mario Party board, but it still looks very intriguing. This board looks to be what I like to call a town square type board, which is a board with paths around its outer edges and a central junction or town square that allows players to cut through quickly and get somewhere faster than by going around the outside. Think Chilly Waters from Mario Party 3 or Snowflake Lake from Mario Party 6. Anyways, Wiggler seems to be the town square for this board, and his spaces have little glowy effects. Maybe when you land on that space, that segment turns red, and if Wiggler turns completely red, he gets mad and throws you off of him, similar to the cracking ice in Mario Party 3's Chilly Waters. Since this board seems to be your kind of standard beginner Mario Party affair, it also seems like its happening spaces are pretty simple simple, like these happening spaces in front of these piranha plants that likely just take money from you. However, there are also these happening spaces in front of these little gates that appear to maybe have a bell on them. I wonder if you land here, you maybe ring the bell and Wiggler moves one rotation? There are also a few happening spaces up at the top here, which it's hard to know what exactly they are, but it's likely some kind of mini game where you gain coins or something like that. Despite us not knowing much about this board, I'm really intrigued and I'm excited to learn more about it. Finally, we've got King Bowser's Keep, the other board that we did not get any footage of, so we only have this still image. However, just by looking at it, it's a very obvious expansion to King Bob-omb's Powder Keg Mine from Super Mario Party. There's a passable event next to Bowser with an enemy that looks like a Fizzlet. Does this potentially maybe send you into Bowser or damage you or damage him? Since Bowser is confirmed to be playable too, is this Mega Bowser in the middle a different Bowser? Does Bowser get replaced by Dry Bowser or something else if somebody is playing as Bowser? The lore implications here are making my head spin. There's not too much to glean from this board otherwise, since this screenshot is very zoomed out, but I'm very interested to see how this board changes up or improves ideas from King Bob-omb's Powder Keg Mine. Next up, we've got the retro boards. First, Mario's Rainbow Castle from Mario Party 1. Not my first pick as a board for Mario Party 1, but they could have done a lot worse. Judging from this footage, it doesn't look like too much has been changed yet, but we haven't gotten to see very good shots of the board. The banks do appear to be replaced by item shops, which makes sense because banks aren't in this game. What's really obviously improved is this board's visuals. It uses layering and verticality to make it feel so much more dynamic and visually appealing, which is really great. So far, the changes to this board seem pretty minimal, which is honestly fine by me since it's supposed to be a beginner board anyways. However, one request. Please let the remix be fire, please. And finally, we've got Western Land from Mario Party 2. I'm really happy with this board coming back because it's one of Mario Party 2's most recognizable, and it has a ton of potential to be even better than it already was with some changes, which it looks like they are already making a substantial amount of changes. New junctions have been added to the right side of the board to the bottom, which will definitely help with this board's issue of long, uninterrupted paths of spaces. In the original, there was a vapid junction at the top that was kind of worthless and sent you down a long path regardless, so this was a good change. Skeleton key doors are still here, likely as board-specific items since no other boards appeared to have skeleton key doors. This is a good thing because skeleton keys provided a lot of opportunity to traverse this very large board very quickly, but on other smaller boards, blocking off sections of the board would probably be more detrimental than it would be beneficial. Boo has now been bumped down the right path to replace the bank, and an item shop is now where Boo was previously on the map. This item shop in the town square has also been bumped to before the junction. It's also very likely that this board cuts down on spaces because Western Land is by far the biggest Hudson Soft Mario Party board with 114 spaces. That's a lot. Overall, there's lots of potential for improvements on a beloved board here, and I'm really interested to see what Nintendo does. And overall, this is probably the most excited I've been for new Mario Party boards in a long while, and I'm really hoping that they live up to their potential. So, backing up a bit, let's take a look at the different islands that you can see in this trailer and see if we can figure out what different types of modes there will be in this game. This star-shaped island in the center is most likely the minigame menu, and the steps to this platform is likely the staple win 3, 5, or 7 minigames mode. To the left, there are two islands, one of which has a big gear in its roof, which is likely the options house, and the other is a small building shaped like a Dutch oven with a neon sign of a chef's hat, fork, and knife, which is likely for the rhythm mode, insinuating that the entire rhythm mode is cooking based. There's also a little cloud with a Koopa on it with some balloons. This may either be a records menu or a single player mode similar to Minigame Island. Now let's take a look at this main island that I pointed out earlier that looks like the main menu from Super Mario Party. The center dock is most likely for party mode, and there's no way to really know what the two adjacent docks are for. However, there is a dock on the far left with two large rafts that appear to accommodate two sets of 4 players, which likely leads to the 8-player co-op mode similar to River Survival mode in Super Mario Party. An 8-player co-op mode is essentially confirmed since the undersea matching puzzle minigame uses the same team scoring method that the co-op minigames used in Super Mario Party. The dock all the way to the right has 4 submarines screens that look like they might be able to accommodate 2 players, potentially for a 4 teams of 2 mode that we haven't seen yet. There is also this 2-player team mode where you appear to try to fly and drop characters off at certain locations, which seems interesting as a sort of Wii Sports Resort island flyover type game. I'm interested to see if there's much depth to this, like say Wii Party Balance Boat, or if it's more of a extended minigame and not much more. There also seems to be a Bowser versus the players mode where you pick up bombs in the environment and run back to this cannon to shoot him with them. The bombs sitting behind Bowser imply that you pick them up manually, but maybe you play minigames to get even more bombs, or this mode could just be devoid of minigames entirely. This seems to be a competitive co-op type of experience, judging by the way that the bombs are displayed. You likely get points for stuffing the cannon with more of your bombs each time. I'm really interested to see what this mode is all about. Also, Koopathlon is back from Mario Party Star Rush, and now it's called Koopathlon? Okay, ND Cube, cook! Stupid. Koopathlon was the standout mode for Mario Party Star Rush, and it is really great to see it back, this time with online play and expanded to 20 players. That's going to be intensely competitive and engaging. I cannot wait to play this. Hopefully this is an online exclusive, but it most likely is, which is a bummer, but kind of understandable given the format. So I've gone on for 20 minutes now without even really talking about the minigames. They seem fine. 110 minigames is a huge number, but split amongst the many different modes with different types of minigames that likely don't intersect with one another will whittle that pool down to probably a standard fare for Mario Party board minigame sets. The first minigame with the boos and chain chomps on the carousel looks like fun. It could potentially be a Bowser minigame if those are on the board. This Yoshi racing minigame looks a little slow, but it could be really fun. But I gotta know, does Yoshi ride Yoshi in this minigame, or does he just run by himself? ND Cube, please, I need answers. This 8-player water puzzle minigame looks like a neat little co-op experience, nothing crazy. This timing minigame looks fine. This golf tilting minigame looks like a possible 10 if it plays its cards right. This mechanical arm wrestling minigame looks like a classic 2v2 masher. This Bonsai Bill 1v3 looks like it has some fun mind games, but the balance is really going to depend on how many rounds there are. The Koopathlon minigames look pretty fun. There's lots of potential for unique ideas in that mode. The Desert Dash versus Wiggler looks like something that's really fun the first time, but then gets old really fast. And the Eggplant Rhythm minigame looks fine. Overall, a kind of mixed bag in terms of minigames that we've seen thus far, but with 110, there's bound to be some great ones that we just haven't seen yet. Finally, to wrap up, I just wanted to go over a couple of miscellaneous things that I found as I was researching. Lots of Nintendo's sales verbiage makes it sound like just Koopathlon is playable online, but judging from the fact that the Bowser Tank 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 mode also has player names, most of the modes are probably playable online outside of the rhythm mode and maybe the 8-player co-op, but boards are most likely going to be playable online. Nintendo, don't make me look dumb. The game's website states that the motion-controlled minigames are not available if you're playing online, using a Pro Controller, or playing with a Switch Lite. I'm curious as to if that means that you can essentially choose if you want motion-controlled minigames or not as an explicit option in the game, or as an implicit option based on the controllers you use. If it's an explicit choice, does that also open up the possibilities to customize the minigame set more by, say, getting rid of mashers? Or, hear me out, getting to choose your own minigame set like you could in Mario Party 4? On that same note, it is also confirmed that Pro Controllers can be used with this game, so if you were worried about only being able to use a single Joy-Con, you can throw those fears away. Overall, ND Cube seems to still be kind of in a phase of figuring out what this new, rebooted Mario Party fully looks like, and how to set itself apart from the classic games without falling into the same pitfalls that their previous games did. So far, Jamboree looks to be a huge jump from Super Mario Party into a direction that still feels classic and has a reference for the series past, while also trying to push forward with new ideas. It's been a long road, but I'm honestly really excited for the future of Mario Party. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this analysis, and if you also enjoy videos about Mario Party, please consider subscribing. I make lots of videos about Mario Party going into details about these games, and I really look forward to covering Jamboree when it comes out. Thanks again for watching, and have a great rest of your day.